Hello and welcome to another Hill and Ponton VA Benefits Q&A Live. I'm here with everybody's favorite Carol today. She is back, so I don't have to speak her part. I can just give you my unfiltered advice. She can contradict me.
I can.
So we are excited to be here.
Yes.
Carol's wearing green. I love it when she wears color. She's usually kind of monotone and black. So this is good to see. You guys are getting to see her.
You see my Irish.
To see her Irish. Yeah.
That's right. We're going to have something new. It's going to be Carol's Corner halfway through. So every time we have this podcast, we want to let you know what we're seeing that's new or changes or things that you definitely need to be aware of. So we're going to do it halfway through each podcast. We'll start that today.
Exciting. Glad to have you all here. Let's jump in.
We have a dog that also wants to be here or not. She's in and out.
Foxtrot Yankee Papa Delta. My uncle qualifies for the PAC tag. However, he beat cancer. Does he apply for the cancer that is now gone in order to qualify for the residuals later? What does he apply directly for the residuals? Great question.
Yeah, he definitely should apply for service connection for the cancer and residuals. Cancer can leave lasting things. It can leave, if you've had radiation or chemo, it can leave neuropathy, fatigue, brain fatigue. There are lots of things that can happen. If you've had some types of cancer will leave you with a voiding problem where you're either incontinent or you have to go to the bathroom all the time. There are lots, unfortunately, just because the cancer is gone, that doesn't mean the problems are gone. So he should definitely file. And then a lot of times people have depression because of cancer. Is it going to come back? How has it changed my life? Am I too weak to do the things I want to do? So he should file for all of the things that he is left with because of the cancer.
Yeah, each cancer, unfortunately, has its own. There are general problems like depression, but there are specific problems to each one. So I would have him talk to his doctor about what he's left with or what has happened as a result of that and apply for those. But he should apply for the cancer. If he's in remission, he will get a 0% for that, but it's the residuals you're really after to make sure he gets the proper rating.
Erectile dysfunction is another problem that often comes with prostate cancer and some of the others. So.
Mike Allen, GERD claim approved. Thanks, H&P, but under new regs, it had ITF since 3/24. Best way to get VA, use the old regs, higher level review.
Yes.
Yeah.
And point out specifically why you're appealing, that they didn't use the earlier regs.
Jay Monk, good to see you. Can I use medical information that is relevant to my claim as new evidence? Yes. So that's the new and relevant standard you have to meet to reopen a claim. Jamie, I have a friend that has a son that is a helpless child. He turns 18 in a couple months. Should she file for helpless child before he turns 18 or after? Thanks for all this. I would go ahead and file it now. That he is a helpless child. That doesn't get you more benefits because I think it pays the same as dependents, but have her file now so that it's on record. You're showing it's before he turned 18 because he has to show that before 18 he became a helpless child.
And also he should be filing for Social Security disability when your child is helpless and never going to be able to function as an adult. When he's under 18, his income counts as yours. So often if people have filed for Social Security for that child, they aren't getting anything. But once he or she turns 18, they are considered an adult. And therefore, the parent's income is not considered theirs. So they could also get, in addition to the VA, they could also get benefits from the Social Security Administration. And if the Social Security Administration has found that he is disabled prior to turning age 18, usually the VA will go with that. That's a great evidence of proof of disability.
John, which one is better? AMA or the legacy appeal? VVA remanded. Should I go to AMA?
Oh, it is such a problem, and it depends on the specifics of each case, I think.
I'd stay in the VVA. I'd stay in the legacy. I mean, you're there. It's an old case. It counts against them. But we don't know because their system seems to change what they are focusing on and what they're not. It's just a real.
It's a mess right now.
Yeah. Mike Allen again. Backdated sleep apnea decisions. Agreed I should backdate to May 24, but still no back pay. called unaware, even though acknowledged decision. How do I get this train back on the tracks? Higher level review. Okay, so this is like almost a year old. I guess the question first is, does the sleep apnea give you a higher combined rating, which I'm assuming it would. If it does, the other thing they could be doing is looking if there's an offset due to concurrent benefits with the DoD. If those two are not in play, I'd ask for higher level review and say, essentially you're asking for an audit. Why has this not been paid?
All right, so you want to look at the NOA, that's the notice of award you got that tells when they started paying and how much they started paying you. So the one that you got before the one that granted May of 2024, how much did that have you being paid each month? And is there a difference on this one that started May 2024? If there's not, then for some reason they're saying you're not entitled to additional money. So like Matt said, it could have been that the combined rating didn't give you higher. They could have found an offset. It's really hard to know without actually looking at the files. But if it shows you should be entitled more, I think you should file an audit saying that you are awarded these benefits, you've never been paid them.
So just as an example, crazy to think that 50% rating would not get you a higher rating. If you had a combined 85% rating right now and you got a 50% rating, the math on that would be you get an additional 8%. Which you have the 85%, which already rounds up to 90. But then if you have a 93%, that rounds down to 90. So that would not give you additional benefits.
So 8 plus 85, I know this was too hard for you. It's 93. So that's why it rounds down.
Well, math was never my thing.
Or mine.
So we probably confused you more than helped you, but go with what Carol said. Darwin, part 1. I'm 80% permanent total TDIU, rated at 100% due to PTSD at 70, tinnitus at 10, hearing loss at 0 as of 16 July 2020, and migraines 0 as of July 24, Tara, and left great toe 10% July 2002. Part 2, intent to file VA 2680 for SMC-L, aid in attendance, and SMC-K, erectile dysfunction linked to PTSD and tinnitus. Intent to file 16 August 2024. SMC-L retroactive date March 1st, 2022. Do I qualify for SMC-L?
You qualify for SMC-L by getting awarded aid in attendance.
Right.
So if you are not able to take care of the daily activities that keep you healthy and safe, such as being able to take a shower by yourself, remembering your medications, not mixing up your medications, being able to cook your own meals, having difficulty with eating, having difficulty leaving the home, any of those things that would keep you from being safe without somebody else's help would allow you to get aid and attendance. So I don't know what the limitations are from all of these disabilities, but I imagine that they could very much require you to need aid and attendance.
Then it looks like also you have an intent to file for Meniere's, frequency urination, chronic fatigue, and submit a service connection increase of migraines. Do I submit SMC-L? Should I wait for the decision on the conditions mentioned? So I'm going to go first. I said I'm going to go first. So
you go first.
If you're submitting SMC-L, it's just like what Carol said. You got to show how the service-connected conditions you have or will have from this cause loss of ADLs. If these diseases are pertinent to you not being able to do your activities of daily living, then you need to get those service connected first. If they're not, then you've got, kind of two separate claims going on there.
But I would go ahead and file for aid and attendance, because remember, they're only pay you starting the month after you file.
Yeah.
So if you need them, get them started. And if you can get them related solely to the PTSD, say, then once you get SMC-L and say you've gotten a 50% rating for your headaches, then that will allow you to have SMC-L and a half. If you have others, then that can move this SMC up past L, L and a half, M. Okay. So I would go ahead and file. If PTSD is what is making you, if that alone makes you need aid and attendance, go ahead and file for that. And that would help you with going farther up the SMC ladder.
Rose City D, hello. Question for increases. New and relevant evidence is needed. Yes. So is radiculopathy upper and lower? Do you file those secondary claims, or will the DBQ do that? I definitely would file those. If you have I'm not quite sure what you have. If you have a service-connected claim for your back, then you definitely want to let them know you have those disabilities. Should they find those and rate them? Yes, but we're not going to wait on them.
For an increase, you only have to, if you've already service connected and you're asking for an increased rating, you don't have to supply the new evidence. You just have to say, my condition is worsened. I would like an evaluation to show how my service connected condition is worse, and I'm entitled to a higher rating. So you don't need to put in the evidence necessarily in that.
Right, but name it.
Name it, right.
Charm Duns. Oh my gosh, I'm 100% P&T. What a journey. It's been a while since I've been able to jump on. Well, congratulations, and we're glad to see you.
Congratulations.
Go on and live with your life now. Timothy submitted VA form 10182 to the BVA on February 28, 2025, and still have not been processed or action based on Barry v. McDonald. I reached out and was told this was normal and they are action in order. Received. Is that normal based upon your experience submitting BVA direct appeals to the BVA? VA government showing no pending claim, but I can see it in the mail portal on VA Quick Submit. So we're 3 weeks out. There's I think we might have seen a handful of cases deciding on that, and those are advanced on the docket. So I think you're going to be waiting a while.
Although is his question, has it been sent up to the BVA? If that's the question, I would wonder why it hasn't been sent, because that's 3 weeks. It should have been sent up to the BVA. Not that you should have. We are getting some decisions, but that's really fabulous. And I don't know if it's going to stay that way, and it's not on all of them. But if there are two questions, should you have an answer from the BVA? No. But if your case should have been sent to the BVA. But I would wait until it's been a month, and then if it hadn't, I'd really follow up.
Yeah. Brian, is a motorcycle accident in the Army considered service-connected disability? Yes. For back surgery since '84, rods and screws, severe sciatica. Yeah, a service member's day is considered never to end. So meaning 24/7. If you are on active duty, it doesn't matter if you're on base, off base, if you're at a bar, if you're working on base. If you get injured, they own that.
Unless for some reason they said it was outside the line of duty.
Right, but the line of duty
is presumed, unless for some reason they did that. So if you look in your service medical records, it would clearly say if they did that. Otherwise, it should definitely be something you could be service connected for.
M&L Bill 84. Hello, if I'm already 100% permanent total and I have C&P exams for my other claims still pending or on appeals, if I get rated for those, will I get back pay or will it no longer apply since I'm reached the max? Thanks. These claims were in place so yes, if you get rated and it increases that pre 100% rating, then you would get back pay on that. Derek, can veterans submit CAR?
Yes, absolutely.
What are the parameters and what is it?
You have to file a CAR, a claims and noted as CAR's claim accuracy request within 30 days of the decision. So if you do that, then I find that we get those decisions back sometimes a day if they deny it, sometimes within a week, but really quickly. You cannot have a hearing when you do that, but we find we don't ask for hearings. We don't find they're very effective at all. So we use the claim accuracy request often. And we're getting really it's almost you get right away. So at least you can go on to the board if you're denied. If you get approved, it's great because it happens so quickly. And I find that if it's an issue of an earlier effective date, that is a great place to go because usually they recognize it right away and go ahead and approve it.
Mike, again, I know VHA knows what your overall percentage is, but did they know that individual percentage is 10% tinnitus, 30% for sleep apnea? How can VHA lower your percentage if they don't know what it's made of? Can you Confirmed that the VHA doesn't know individual percentages unless you told the VHA.
They clearly know your individual percentages. It's on your VA medical record. So it's right in your file that you've got 10% for tinnitus or whatever else.
Mm-hmm.
So it's already in your medical records.
They can't lower it, though.
They can't lower it, but they clearly know what it is.
Joseph, hello. Thank you all that you do for veterans. We love what we do, and this is a fun part of our week just to get out and reach out and see what's going on.
And thank you, veterans, for all you've done for us. I have to tell you, it was a sad night last night. For the first time, I realized that there were faces on the wall. I was watching some TV program, and they found somebody on faces on the Vietnam Memorial Wall. And I typed in, and I got to see my 3 really good friends who died in Vietnam. And so I do thank you, veterans, for all you've done. It's over the years, that's why our country is free. So
happiness, good to see you. Hi, when doing a quick submit for caregiver program, how do they know it is for them when filing out a 210? Do you upload a cover letter? When I called, they said to mail it. Would a new higher percentage strengthen caregiver claim? Also, with continuous pursuit within the time supplemental, they said if there are any new diagnosis since we first applied, the back pay would only go to the new claim, the new diagnosis date, not continuously pursued. Does that sound correct if the caregiver was warranted all along due to severe symptoms from the beginning? Oh, yes. And Matt asked, my hubby got 100% permanent total, still working. That is a big TBI story situation. However, Carol was correct with questions pertaining to disassociation too. Veterans have a maybe we don't have that. Well, congratulations to your husband.
Congratulations.
It's great to see.
We need to go back and take
we got
this.
a couple questions. Let's go back to the first one. How do they know?
It's got the veteran's name on it, so that's how they know. But remember, when you send in the form, you also want to send in all the medical evidence you want. One of the problems we were noticing is they would be using really old medical records, and they wouldn't have any new medical records. So you want all the medical records to go in every time you send this form in, okay? Remember, on the top of the form, it has the veteran's name, number, things like that. So they clearly know what it is.
All right, what was the next one on that? So that is interesting as far as the higher percentage for another claim coming after you filed that initial claim. In some ways, I do, on one hand, it bolsters the claim, right? Like, hey, this has gotten worse. Here's where we are. But on the other hand, it already was bad enough to need caregiver. So I would see where the VA would say, oh, this got worse. This is the date I'm going to give it to you. But if you've been applying for it that whole time, and frankly, your vets needed a caregiver the whole time, I would fight for that earlier effective date.
Yeah, so you could take that they've given you the caregiver amount, start getting paid, but appeal for an earlier effective date. So you don't have to take what they give you. You can always appeal that.
All right, did we get all these? Yeah, so I'm with Carol. I'd be looking to appeal that. Yeah, I think we got through all. Great to hear from your husband. So good advocate journal. Don't give up. You deserve it, even if you don't think you do. Spouses study your spouse or family member.
Exactly. Yeah. Don't give up. You deserve every penny.
Richard, I've been fighting with the VA over my claim for obstructed sleep apnea since April 23. I'm attempting to having the OSA secondary to my PTSD. So far, they've denied 3 times. After each denial, I'll submit more evidence showing that my sleep apnea is service-connected. After the second denial, I went and had a nexus letter done by AME showing how my sleep apnea is secondary to my already rated PTSD, hyperthyroidism, and migraines. Doctor even wrote and cited sources about why my sleep apnea should be standalone condition due to my toxic exposures and other environmental hazards factors. In this last denial, which was last week, the VA seemed to have ignored the nexus letter completely. Their denial appears to be based on that I had no complaints or symptoms while in service or out of service until May 2024. My service ended October 2013. My nexus letter advised the reader that in my civilian record, which was submitted with my claim for sleep apnea, I was diagnosed with sleep apnea in March 2012 while you're on service. I also had sleep studies done in 15, 17, and 19, which came to the conclusion that I have sleep apnea. I also submitted a lay statement from a battle buddy of mine who was my roommate overseas, and for 1 year after we came back, supporting that I had displayed symptoms overseas when I came home. I've already filed for higher level review with an informal conference to show the errors that are made by last reviewer. If this higher level review fails, would I be better off submitting new evidence or filing a board of appeals with direct review?
Go to the board. Sleep apnea is one of their bugaboos. They don't like giving service connection for sleep apnea. You have every reason to be service connected, and they have every reason not to deny you. You're not going to, they've already put you in a category that maybe when you talk to this person at HLR, maybe they'll listen to you, but you should have a long time go to the board. These are just not, we look at cases and say, you're not going to win at the regional office. We're going to the board. And right now, direct reviews to the board are really being handled fast. Okay. I encourage you to go there.
Completely agree with Carol. You've done a great job of putting this together. It sounds like you've worked really hard to get your IME, getting these buddy statements. You've done great. But for some reason, these are the kind of cases the RO likes to deny, see if you'll go away.
Yeah.
Direct review is what I would do as well, since you already have all that great evidence. Joseph, Rule 33 pilot program informed me that I don't have a case for appeals regarding my back pay. I submitted a motion for reconsideration for retro for my knees, and a month later submitted a notice of disagreement to the board for wrong effective date. The motion was denied, and that became final since I didn't submit a notice of disagreement within 120 days. Is that correct? I'm not quite sure. I think we're mixing apples and oranges, because a Rule 33 conference takes place in the Court of Appeals for Veterans Claims. You have to file an appeal to that court within 120 days. So it's not a notice of disagreement. But yeah, it has to be within 120 days. So if you didn't file, and if you do file to the board's supposed to pass it on to the court. But if that was not filed, then unfortunately that is correct.
But if this was an AMA case, then you can go ahead and file a supplemental claim.
Yeah, sure. So you can file back, and if and when you win, you keep the same effective date. So that is another option.
Right. And you just need to put new evidence in, maybe another statement from somebody about why you had these problems back when you're trying to get the effective date.
Another step. Good to see you. I'm rated 100% P&T with VA math of 95. What is the risk of filing for an increase to an already service-connected disability? A VA schedule has changed last year, puts me at 10% higher rating, even though my condition has not changed. Looking forward, if my symptoms worsen, should I file for an increase? So if you're already at 95%, and
I'm agreeing with you this time. Why do it?
Yeah, that claim is part of your 95%. You're not going to get any more financial benefits or auxiliary benefits. So I would not kick that there.
No. Always know that there's something really positive for you if you win what you're asking for. Otherwise, please don't do it, because these people, you never know what you're going to get.
I'm not seeing upside benefits.
No.
First one of three. I'm preparing a VA Form 10-182 for the board. Where on the form do I notate that I am waiving additional time to file appeals in different lanes? Can I add a sheet to explain why I am appealing, and what your recommendations on the length of this explanation? Finally, I have a secondary VA connected to the primary I'm appealing the denial of. I think it's being rated under the wrong diagnostic code according to the rating code sheet. Can I include that in the appeal as well? Thanks for all you do. Your help is appreciated more than you know.
Okay, can we go back, Nate, so we can figure out first one? Okay, what we do is we always have a cover sheet, and the cover sheet says we are filing an appeal to the rating decision of this client on this date. Okay, so we're identifying it, and then the next paragraph we're saying we are waiving any additional time to file. We want this decided on the direct appeal. So that's how we cover those two things. And remember, there's a form, it's a 646, and that's what some people use to file their argument. Okay, so I would use that if you want to say, if you want to have an argument about why you're entitled to these benefits, I would use that form. We do ours in a memo form, but sometimes we do it on a 646 as well. So if you look that VA 21, I think, or 646. It will show a form for you, and that has your name, everything identifying you, and then you put the argument right in that, and it goes along with the appeal.
And as far as how long that should be, you want to tailor your argument to what was denied and what evidence shows that it should have been granted. So, you know, again, you look on the rating decision and they have to show you what was favorable. So did they find something favorable for you in service as far as an event, injury, disease? Did they have a current disability that they have conceded? And then the nexus, are they showing those two are related? Figure out what they have granted and then focus on what they didn't. And what evidence do you have already in the record that proves that? And so it's not, you know, length isn't as much important as relevance here.
Talking directly to what they need in order to approve the claim. So you want to say the VA has already agreed in the rating decision that I have this diagnosis, whatever else, and this is the issue before the court, and tell them exactly what you think, why you think you're entitled to that.
Jamie again, finally got service-connected for sleep apnea through higher level review, but didn't receive the right effective date. BSO turned in a 4138 stating that I'm seeking my intent to file effective date. What's the next step, or do I just have to wait? So she put this in higher level review. So
well, no, I got service-connected through higher level review, but didn't receive the date. When you put in a 40, so where does that leave her? Because
she's got to get a supplemental claim.
Yeah, I think you have to file something more than this. So either say a supplemental claim, you're putting in new evidence. I think I just go to the board. I go directly to the board because all the evidence is in, and say I was not given the right effective date. And remember, all of you who are going to the board, they are supposed to automatically advance your case on the docket if you're 75 or older, but we always send a letter to them, not the date we file the appeal, because sometimes if they get that letter first, they figure they don't have an appeal for, so they throw the letter away. So you want to make sure you file the appeal, so they've established appeal, and then you file a motion to advance on the docket, because sometimes they pick it up and sometimes they don't. So if you're 75 older, if you're homeless, if your lights have been cut off, if you're suicidal, any of those things, make sure you point out to the board, because that puts you in the fast lane, which is where you definitely want to be.
Okay. No, I'll take one more question. All right. Jimmy, watching from Northwest Louisiana.
Hi. Are you a Cajun? Am I supposed to say that anymore? Well, I had good friends who are, so.
That's still PC. Mike, the hemorrhoid video on your site is vague when it comes to GERD causing hemorrhoids. Could you have them clarify the video if you can? We'll ask about that. You know, we don't practice medicine, so it's, you know, it's kind of like we can talk about what we've seen and what we think the research says, but there's only so much we can do on that, unfortunately. Tiny, hi, I wanted to know where to find all related secondary disabilities for all disabilities. Also, what kind of pup do you have? What is her name?
Oh, I'm sure he's thrilled to answer that.
As far as the first question, that's kind of like asking for an encyclopedia. I mean, we don't know. ChatGPT, frankly, is great. If you have a certain disability, say, what are the secondary disabilities as causes? I think you get a great list there, but you kind of got to go disability by disability. So
what I do is whatever is service connected, I say, can whatever service connected cause, and then I list the problems that my veteran has, and it will pull up yes or no.
Yeah.
And that's the best way to do it. On Google's great.
And as far as a pup, her name is Honey, and she's a Toller, which is a smaller retriever breed. She's a wonderful part of our lives. I don't know where she is. She's kind of
coming in and out of the door.
She kind of runs around, does whatever the heck she wants.
But she's kind of, if you don't have any food for her, she's really not interested in you.
Right. She's always checking to see who's got the food.
She's not loyal.
LG 1914. Hello, much love from South Carolina.
South Carolina.
My dad is currently 90%, 70 for mental health, 60 per urethra multiform with dermatitis, and 10% for tinnitus. Does he qualify for TDIU?
Yes.
He had to stop working in 2024. I'd ask does he need to see a vocational specialist before submitting? He does not. If you have access to one, that is a great option to get you TDIU, because they can talk about what his job was, what he was able to do through his skills, and then graft on top of that what his disabilities prevent him from doing. Now, going back real quick, I would also want to know why he stopped working. Was it anyone in particular? Mental health at 70% is a very severe rating. And if that in and of itself caused him to stop working, then I'd want the doctor, I'd want him to focus on that being the reason he gets TDIU, because
then he gets SMC-S,
Yep.
another $300 to $500 a month, because you have that extra 60%. I think if I were you, I would vocational experts are all over the place. It's usually at the most $500 for them to give you an opinion. And the VA does not use vocational experts. So usually when you have a vocational expert and you're at the board, they're going to prove the case. So
especially if your vocational expert looks at the C&P exams and is able to combine what problems the person has and show how that would affect their work.
And PTSD. But remember, the VA owes you an evaluation first. So they may find that your father is entitled to unemployability without you having to do that. So I would file the claim, have him emphasize basically the PTSD, because that alone could cause it, and see what you get from the VA, and then get a copy of it. I had a veteran who was denied unemployability, and I got the file, and the medical opinion says can't do even sedentary work. So it was there. And so you just appeal that to the court, and because they don't have any proof they can't work. So make sure you look at all that before you spend the $500.
Merle, have you ever heard of the VA
Yes.
doing a C&P exam that's 450 miles away from where you live, non-ACE exam denying you? Yeah.
Yeah, we send out a statement to all of our veterans when they're called for a C&P exam. I want them to refer to it, because that ticks me off so much. Remember, this is not the VA that's setting you up for an exam. This is a private company that's making money. So if the VA asks them to do an exam and they don't have anybody near you, they don't care. If they have you drive 1,000 miles, it doesn't matter to them. They want that money for that exam. I tell my veterans, tell the people, if you can't give me a nearer exam, then I'm going to call the VA and have them send me to a different company.
Yeah.
They're going to threaten you, say it'll delay your case, etc. If they do that, hang up, call 1-800-827-1000 and ask to speak to the VA section that sets up C&P exams, and tell them my exam is for my right hip. They want me to drive 350 miles for this exam. I can't do that. Would you please send me to a company that has somebody locally that can do that? I tell my vets, please listen to me. They are going to send you all over the world if they can. And you know what happens? Half the time the person isn't there, so there's no exam. Do you know how many times my veterans have said, I drove 2 hours and no one was there, and then they had to drive 2 hours back? This is a real problem, and I want you to complain to the VA every time it happens, and don't let them push you around. Please.
Last 5 miles. Hello, Hill and Ponton. Thank you for all the great jobs you do for veterans. Keep doing what you do. I certainly thank you all.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
that. My nurturous Galloway, I got a VA rating of 70%, but never got a decision letter. Does having a rating mean you automatically get VA benefits? I was other than honorable discharged. I would call and ask for a copy of your last rating decision and the code sheet, just to see, maybe they mailed it to the wrong place. I don't know what's going on there. That's kind of strange. But if you're getting the benefits, then a decision was published. So my thoughts.
I know, it's really strange. Every once in a while I'll have a rating decision, but then no notice of award. And that usually means it was not finalized. It's just sitting there. So if this was downloaded or seen on VBMS, it's not effective. If they actually started paying you, then somehow that notice of award letter got lost, and you want to call and ask them for a copy of that. Remember, people who have an other than honorable discharge can still get benefits. There's a way to show that the reason that you got this other than honorable, because you were in it. This is a strange word for you to use, but they have a special definition at the VA. It's that you were insane at the time, but that doesn't mean insane in the way we think of it. Insane, as defined by the VA, is you are not acting the way you normally act. So for instance, people who have been in the jungles of Vietnam and they come back to the US or whatever, that's very good likely they're not acting the way they used to act, because they have been through such trauma. So you can get benefits even though it was other than honorable if you can show that that you were not in your right mind at that time. I don't know if that happened to you, but that very well could have been what happened.
All right, here it is. Hold on. We are going for the first time to Carol's Corner. She is going to tell you what is the current and most interesting thing she's seeing right now.
I don't know if it's interesting, but I think you need to know what's happening and what's not happening at the VA. So first of all, I am happy to say the Berry cases we've been talking about is the wonderful case that came out that said the VA needs to pay you for a lot of these service-connected disabilities that you haven't been paid for under the SMC system. So if you have SMC-L, aid and attendance, and that's say based on PTSD, but then you also have other service-connected ratings that are 50% or more, for each one of those that's 50%, you go a half a step higher on the SMC level. And so we had not, the BVA is doing this, but we had not seen the board, the regional office effectuate them. It was like the case never happened. This week and last week, I got 2 decisions that clearly implement and refer to the Berry case. So I'm really excited about that. So make sure you tell people when you file an appeal, you might mention the Berry case. Normally they don't care about court cases. They don't know the names of them. Right. This time they actually mentioned the Berry case. So Berry versus McDonough. So you want to mention that and tell them under Berry versus McDonough, I'm entitled to a higher SMC, and then point out the reasons why. Okay. That is great news. On the bad news front, there's a real problem. I know Matt mentioned it last week with decisions that are coming out of the board. You know, what the board had told us is that they were going to do all of these legacy cases. That was the one where you filed a VA-9 and then you got an SOC or an SSOC. There are still a lot of those cases out there. For whatever reason, they're sitting there. I don't know why. The only cases we seem to be getting are direct appeals to the BVA or appeals where we've been able to file a motion to advance on the docket. So if you happen to have an SSOC or a legacy claim and you haven't filed a motion to advance on the docket, and you can, 75 or older, homeless, financial difficulties, suicidal, file that to see if you can get your appeal. But I have appeals that are sitting from 2021 in this legacy system that are not moving. The veteran is not 75. I don't have a basis for advancing it on the docket, and they're just sitting there. So I don't know what's going on, but I want you to know it's a real problem. So I urge you, I've said it before, please, please never file a request for hearing. Those cases are getting farther and farther behind. They are doing none of them. So what you need to file is a direct appeal, and you always need to file a motion to advance on the docket. Those are the things. What's going on with the VA, I can tell you there's some really unhappy people there. I can tell you that a lot of people have left. A lot of the people that are really good that we've relied on to when we need some help, what's going on here? Can you move this case? They're all gone. They have gotten other jobs, left the VA. So that's what we know that's going on with the VA, and that's not good news.
Yeah.
So every week we're going to try to tell you the latest thing we're seeing here that's affecting you. And you know, I hate it that sometimes the next week I tell you to don't file direct appeals, file this, but we're telling you what we're seeing. And as you know, the VA changes from moment to moment, and we just want you to have the latest news about what's best for your case.
That was it, folks. The initial Carol's Corner. All right, Taz, aid and attendance. Can a mental health condition qualify? Yep.
Yes,
100%.
Absolutely. Mix up your pills, forget to take your pills, forget to go to the doctor, leave the stove on.
Leave the house and not know.
Leave the house, not know where you're going, get lost when you're out driving. Those are real problems with PTSD. Get so angry you can't be around other people, you can't deal with the public. I mean, that means you have to stay in the house. That means every time you go out, you could get in a fight. I mean, all of those things really cause you to need someone to help you.
Keith, I am on and have been on Social Security disability, and I've applied for unemployability at 70%, and it's almost been for months. Is that normal?
Yes.
Yeah.
But let me ask you, did you turn in the form 8940? If you didn't turn in that form, you're going to be denied. Okay. 8940 is the form that says what causes you that's service connected to be unable to work, and when and where did you last work. So you need to fill the form as best you can and send it in. Make sure you keep a copy of it because sometimes they want it updated or they want additional information. The other thing that can expedite your claim is there's a form 4192. Boy, do I sound like a government employee, don't I? There's a form 4192 that from your last employer says when you last worked. So I try to get the form 4192 that shows the last time you worked and the 8940 and send them in right away. A lot of times I get a letter from the VA saying, please send in an 8940 and a 4142.
When you've already sent it in.
When you've already sent it too. I just send it in again because they clearly haven't looked through the file. The third thing that will really help you is getting a copy of your Social Security earnings record. So each year you worked, Social Security kept a record of how much you made and how much you paid into Social Security. And the VA can use this to see 000, you obviously aren't working and didn't work in these years. So those three things are really the basis for them to start and have any way to figure out whether or not you're entitled to the unemployability. Then all they have to do is look at, is this disability sufficient to make you unemployable? So do yourself a favor and get those three things in.
Doug, it's going on 3 weeks this Friday, under rating decision. How much longer? Doug, I don't quite understand what that means, under rating decision.
If you mean just the rating decision is posted, it means that, I don't know, sometimes I see them sitting there 3 months and then disappear. Sometimes I see them sitting 3 weeks, and then all of a sudden they'll do a notice of award. But I'm seeing that a lot. It's almost like they started working on it and then they were diverted to something else, and then they'll come back to it. Other times, maybe it's they're changing their mind, or somebody said, I don't think you can do this. So there can be a number of reasons.
If there's a retro payment that's supposed to be paid to you of more than $25,000, then the rater themselves can't effectuate it. They need 2 other signatures in the office to do that. And so that can take time to get around. Although,
here's the good news. I have to say, my clients got a huge award, and it was paid the next day after the rating decision posted.
Wow.
They got a BVA decision. 3 days later, they got a rating decision, and the next day they got paid, which was unbelievable. I've never seen that happen before.
That's incredible. Lonnie, for half steps and whole steps, current rating is SMC-M. I have other separate disabilities with possible SMC-O. Can I go straight to the board to file for a higher level SMC? You got to have a rating decision, but once you get a decision, your appeal can be to the board, yes.
Right. So do you have a current rating decision? If you do, then you can go right to the board.
John, 1 of 1. The duty to assist area has been identified during higher level review for foot, left, lower extremity, peripheral neuropathy. A duty to assist area has been identified during high level review for foot, right, lower extremity, peripheral neuropathy. What should I do to appeal this? There is no appeal. Have been denied for years and have many injuries on feet and ankles. Had a nerve conduction study in December and was told the small nerve damage is irreversible. So as of right now, there is no appeal. The higher level review found error in the decision before that, under that. So it now goes back to that decision maker ostensibly, and whatever the error was on the duty to assist, they have to correct. If it was an inadequate CP exam, but they didn't get all the medical records, they have to do that and then issue a new decision. At that point, you could appeal and go from there. Or if there's more evidence for you to get, file a supplemental claim.
But they're essentially saying we made a mistake. We didn't do this correctly. We don't know why, but they're going to do another decision. And then if you don't like it, go to the board. You have so much evidence. Don't go back to the regional office. Don't file a supplemental claim unless it's fabulous new evidence that was missing. I'm just saying, clients come to me and they'll have spent 5 years in the circle, the rat's nest of going back and forth, supplemental higher level review, supplemental higher level review. Don't do that. We had to do that when the board wasn't issuing anything on the AMA claims. We had to do that, and we are past that. The direct review is awesome. They are getting I'm not saying they're always right, but at least they're getting a decision out to you and you can act on it. So go direct board review. And as that person pointed out to y'all, always waive additional time to file another type of appeal, because otherwise the board will sit and wait for a year for that to be over. Remember, you have a year to file an appeal. So you could file to the board, but meanwhile, you could have filed another HLR, or you could file a different supplemental. So you need to tell them, I'm waiving all that because I want you to make the decision.
The audience machine. Nate and Benji are the best.
They are. Nate, did you put that in there?
We agree.
We agree.
Wayne K. Hi, Helen Pun. 100% P&T, but still watch for great info. Trying to help my brother in North Carolina at 70%, but he doesn't have the fight anymore. Going down in April to see his VSO and push. Thank you, guys. I'm glad he has you, because that's the VA's biggest weapon, is delay, deny, and see if you'll go away.
Yeah, trying to wear you out. It gets so discouraging and so mentally infuriating. I mean, you went over and you fought for your country, and now they're not there for you, and they're denying that you have any problems. And I see this all the time in veterans, and it's not fair. And so I'm glad that he has you.
Happy Gilmore. Hello. What is an authorization review, and should I be ready for an increase or decrease in my disability? I don't know. I mean, I'd look to see if there's some kind of rating decision that's been proposed. Authorization typically means that they're authorizing the money. The money. The catch with the VA is you don't have to authorize a denial, meaning you don't have to have a second or third signature to deny a case. You don't have to do that to approve a case. So hopefully this is an increase.
Authorization review. I think that is that. Remember Matt said, if the money is over $25,000, then you need 2 signatures. You already have the signature of the person who made the decision. And if it's under $25,000, then they just have 1 and they can send the money out. But if it's more than that, you need 2 signatures, and that is authorization review. So they've already said, this is how much we think the veteran should get. Review this and see if we can release the funds. So I think that's probably what you're talking about.
Charles, I had an ACE exam for my sleep apnea and it was denied. I did a sleep study back in July of 24. CMP examiner used the study from 2012 instead of the one from 2024. Should I appeal? Yeah.
Yes.
Adalia Reina, is IBS a presumptive condition for PACDAC Iraq burn pits? If so, how do I best word this in my statement and submission for appeal?
Could I have it memorized? This? I don't remember.
Oh, it is for just Gulf War in general, right?
I think, but
so if you were in the Gulf War theater, then yeah, you should. That should be service connected. Michelle, 100% P&T, TDIU with 70% major depressive disorder, 50% sleep apnea. I have secondaries I can file for to get SMC-S, but I'm afraid with the current administration's view on VA and veterans, is it worth it? Okay, so if you were to do this, you would need to get the PTSD be the sole reason for the TDIU, okay? If you do that, then you have 50% for sleep apnea, and you could add secondaries. I don't know what your secondaries are or how strong they are. Unfortunately, I think you do have valid reason to be concerned with all the cost cutting going on and looking to save money. You just got to decide if it's worth it. If you have very strong secondary claims, then it might be worth filing, but you're going to have to show that the major depressive order in and of itself causes your unemployability, because to get SMC-S, you have to have one disability that causes permanent total 100% or TDIU.
I'd file it. And that's the other thing I meant to say in my corner. I am continuing to see, I don't know what's going on, but I'm getting severances, which means the VA is saying, okay, we gave you service connection, but now we're going to sever that service connection because it was clear and unmistakable error. Clearly not clear and unmistakable error. I mean, I don't know what's going on. I bet at least 5 times a week, I'm getting these Q claims that are not Q claims. And it's like, for no reason at all, they're going through these files and they're just picking up cases and saying, I'm going to try to get rid of this and this and this. And it's not because there's a pending appeal or anything to do with the appeal. So I figure you go ahead and file for whatever you think you're entitled to, if it will get you more benefits, because you may be looked at anyway. I mean, they're not following the rules they did before.
I mean, I would weigh that against your mental health. If you feel like you file this and it's going to cause a lot of anxiety, then I wouldn't do it. I mean, you just got to see what's best for you in this situation.
That is true.
Nita, hello. Thank you for all you guys do. One, I have a chronic back pain where I'm rated 20% degenerative arthritis and 20% for left side radiculopathy. At the time, I didn't really have an issue with the right. Recently, I fell due to a foot drop on the left and ended up fracturing my right foot. Calm down. We got to read the rest of it first. Fracturing my right foot in November 24. Since then, I have been unable to walk. Just recently had an EMG/NCD
Nerve conduction
done that showed the foot drop on the right side is due to a pinched L5 nerve. Also, the peroneal nerve could be the cause of my issues on the dorsal flexion. Do you think I need a nexus letter for the foot drop secondary to the right side radiculopathy, or is it an EMG and MRI enough proof?
Depends on whether your examiner has a brain or not. And I'm not saying that.
Well, it's going to go to a C&P no matter what evidence
Yeah.
you submit. So I would wait to see what they say. And if they get it right, great. If they don't, then I would get a nexus letter.
But you should have 60% for that foot drop. You should have had 60% from when that foot drop started. So if that's in the record, I think I might file a Q to that. I don't know how long
it had to have been in the record when you filed for that left foot.
So if the VA is noticing you had a foot drop, and if say they gave you an AFO, that's the brace that keeps your foot flat because of the foot drop, and that's in the record when they gave you 20%, I would say that was Q, clear and unmistakable error.
Okay, so this to me is Carol getting ahead of herself. First thing we want to do is show that the service connected, so you get these ongoing benefits on a monthly basis. That's the most important thing, is you're getting paid what you should be paid on a monthly basis. Then she's all about the gravy. Okay, it's all about the icing on the cake and the gravy on the biscuits.
I'm all about them not paying what they should have, and now you got them. That's what I'm all about.
So then that's what you do on the second. Once you're getting your benefits, then you go back and say, hey, this should have gone back to whenever it was in the record.
And you need to think about loss of use of feet. It looks like you're not walking, and that's loss of use of feet. Remember, you're supposed to be able to balance on one foot alone. It doesn't look like you're even walking. So file loss of use of feet, and then service connection for an increased rating. And I would do it across the board for your back and left and right radiculopathy and foot drop. And note all of those in that you're specifically asking for. And if you don't have the brace, make sure you go to the VA and get the brace. That's proof right there that you have that.
I have a long-standing claim. Do you represent vets in Florida? We do.
We do.
We're based out of Orlando.
We represent veterans all across the nation. It's federal law. So it's the same law whether you live in California, Florida, Michigan. So we have clients all over the U.S. and we welcome them.
Chris, I filed a car in December 2024 to fix an effective date. What's a reasonable wait time? Should I follow up? And if so, how? I'm using your recommended firm. Thanks for helping us vets.
It's still not, remember, car usually can take a month or two, but we're only in March. And so for car, I might file I don't know. That's still within a reasonable amount of time. I mean, for an HLR, you're looking at a year.
Yeah.
So car just depends on how many other cases that rater had in front of yours.
Grace, how do you submit direct review to the board, as Carol said? Is there a form?
Yes. 100182 or something. It's called direct review. Actually, there's one form to go to the board on AMA cases. And on them, you check direct, evidence, or hearing. So you check the top one, and I think it's 10182, but I'll have, maybe Nate can put that up. And it's just checking which one you want and waiving the fact that you are waiving the right to file any additional appeals and want it to be decided under direct review. So it's 10182. Thank you, Matt.
And make sure you put the language in there, Carol said, to waive that time period, because there's nowhere to check that box.
No one told us that. We went to a NOVA seminar about a year ago and everybody was complaining about it. And somebody said, well, they told me we had to do this. And as soon as we did it, it was a miracle. But this is the thing with the VA. I don't know why they don't want you to know, but they don't want you to know sometimes. And that's why we want to find out from you and from everybody else, what do we do to make this work?
Yeah. Mark, if someone is currently sitting in step 5, but has already seen their C&P exam and knows the examiner's opinion is not in their favor, should they already pursue a nexus letter and upload? Yeah, that's great, Mark.
Because remember, if you get it in within time, you can either go directly to the BVA, which I probably would do. If it's not in there, then you can't go direct to the BVA and have that considered.
And Mark, I'm assuming you have a copy of the C&P exam. I would get your doctor to comment on that. And any comments you have, like did the examiner ask all the questions that to you of what he put in the exam? Did you offer him information that you don't see reflected in the exam? So you can strongly rebut that before the decision maker makes a decision. Will they consider it?
No.
Probably not, but at least it's in there, as Carol said, and you have the option to go to the board right away. Joseph, how much do you charge? Thinking about appealing for back pay during my 10-year break in service. What's the typical fee for a VA attorney? So we charge on a contingency basis, meaning that if you don't get any more benefits from when we represent you, you don't owe us a thing. We charge 30% of those retro benefits. There are firms out there that charge 20. There might be firms that charge less. We are frankly in high demand. We're really good at what we do, so we do charge more, but it's just a portion of the back pay, no ongoing benefits at all.
And I'd like to think that what we're doing is the best we can do for you. We figure out what evidence is needed. We get the evidence. Do we need a nexus opinion? Do we want a statement from you? We don't just file an appeal and see what happens. I mean, on initial claims, that's pretty much what you're doing.
You got to. Yeah.
You got to. But coming to us for appeals, that's not what we do. We prove your case.
Pete, just asking your opinion. I have a claim in for TDIU on hearing anxiety. 80% total now combined, 60% for hearing alone.
Wow.
C&P hearing exam states any employer would have to have special accommodations due to severe hearing loss, cannot work in noise environment or where communication is needed. Stop sentence right there as far as I'm concerned. Also says safety is concerned. In your opinion, would this get TDIU?
Should.
C&P for exam is coming soon. So back to what Carol said, we want to take this a step farther. Yes, that should. Yes, you should keep fighting until you get benefits based on their damn C&P exam alone. Okay. Let's see what they say on anxiety, because to me, you're getting the TDIU based just on the hearing. What do we have, Carol? Her favorite.
SMC.
Yeah. So we want to see what you get on anxiety. If you can get that at 70%, then you are eligible for SMC-S. Now, I also think about this. If safety is a concern, what does that look like for your activities of daily living? Can you cross the street by yourself without getting hit by a car?
Do you hear the phone ringing?
Yeah,
Could you hear an alarm go off?
How does that affect you daily? Because if we can show that that's severe in how it affects you, then now we're talking about SMC-L. So we're ahead of ourselves. I know we are.
It's my favorite.
But to answer your question, yes, I think you should get TDIU. If they screw this up, you're appealing this, okay? Because that's a crock of crap. But let's make sure if and when you do get that, we assign it just to the hearing loss so that we get the extra bump for the SMC-S, and then we consider SMC-L there due to your activities of daily living with safety being a concern.
And let me tell you a problem I often see. A person has several service-connected disabilities. So the examiner says, well, because of the back, they can't do anything except sedentary. And then they'll have the mental one that says they can't communicate with others, they can't be around others. And it looks like they should deny sedentary, but they don't put them together.
Right.
So they will deny you saying, well, your back says you can do sedentary, and your mental doesn't say that you can't do anything except sedentary. So you need to watch out. That's why you need to get these. You need to get the exams and the medical opinions and make sure that you know what they're doing, because a lot of times the proof is there. They have just construed it incorrectly. And if you go to the board and show them that, you're going to win.
This is a very strong opinion.
Yes.
Jessica, I'm submitting sleep apnea secondary to migraines with an intermittent step of weight gain. I had my sleep doctor fill out a DBQ and having my neurologist write a letter. Is this the correct way to do it? This is great. If you're just filing a claim, they're still going to get a C&P exam. It's absolutely maddening, even if you have this great evidence. But again, I love the fact that you're being proactive here. You're getting the positive evidence to prove your case. You're not sitting back waiting for the VA. So I think this is great. Let's just see what the C&P examiner says. I would get a copy of that if you could before the decision. If they screw it up, then I would get your doctors to comment on what they said and why it's wrong.
And then you go, if they deny you, you go to the board. I'm really emphasizing this because
she's big on the board these days.
I'm big on the board, and you got to hit it while it's hot, because you don't know what's going to happen next week. We may not get any decisions from anybody, and I'm not kidding. So this is a great place to be right now.
Lorando, I have a dispute of attorney's fees, a fee claim 2 years old. My lawyer sent me as a client release form 2017, which VA has. I won my BVA appeal in 2022 with much help from you guys. What else can I do? What else can I do?
I think you need to send a letter to them and explain that the attorney has waived the money and asking to be released to you. But I'm telling you, I'm seeing statistics where it's taking them 5 years or more. That's how backed up they are on these attorney claims.
This goes through the Office of General Counsel, and this is like the lowest priority thing. These attorney fee disputes. So they just take forever, unfortunately. Lori, does proof of chemical exposure that has led to disease mean automatic approval? Does not mean automatic approval. It means that you've shown that something happened in service, and now you need to connect it to what is what's going on with you currently. Nate, if you put this up,
unless it is a presumptive disability,
right? So if you're in Vietnam, you got exposed to Agent Orange,
right? For instance, and the PACT Act,
Nate, will you throw up the link to our toxic base map? We have a map of all the bases around the U.S. and what toxins were there and the service members were exposed to. If you look at those and you see where you were, we list not only the toxins, but what kind of disabilities they cause. So that could help you link them and get the benefits there. So good luck there. Franklin, hello. I have a case waiting on the appeals court since 2023. Is this normal for cases?
I hope it's not a hearing. Remember, if you ask for a hearing, I would waive it. I would write them in place. Please take me off the hearing list. I'm telling you, this is awful. I have a case that's from 2021 on the legacy, which are supposed to be the highest priority, sitting there. So, and there are a lot of them. And that's what I'm saying. If you ask for a hearing, you're going to be there forever. I mean, the court begs us. They tell us, if you have a hearing, wait, you're going to die before you get to you half the time. So do yourself a favor. I don't care who's telling you need a hearing. Ignore them and waive the hearing and ask for something else, whatever else fits in your evidence. And always, always see if you have a way to file a motion to advance on the docket. But right now, all we're seeing come out are direct appeals or where they have a motion to advance on the docket. That is all I've seen since January.
Agreed. All right, Nate, let's do 2 more here. Wayne, again, can you explain again the SMC issue that you spoke of before? I'm 100% with SMCS for hearing loss, but have 3 others at 70, 60, and 50. Thank you for all that you do.
All right, so it doesn't say that you have SMC-L. Remember, before this kicks in, under the Berry case, you need SMC-L, which is aid and attendance. If you have 100% for hearing loss, you need aid and attendance. Yeah. There's no doubt in my mind. You should file for that right away. Once they give you aid and attendance, you get a half step up for each of these disabilities that are not related. Your hearing has caused the need for aid and attendance. Your hearing has caused you 100%. So you can use these 70, 60, and 50, each one to go a half step. So it'll go for L, L and a half, M and a half, up the SMC range. It is complicated, but it's worth it.
All right, last question. Bet Slice. Hello, what's up with the VA requesting records review instead of C&P exam? I have 3 claims denied this way.
Saving money. A lot of times what's happened, it can happen from a number of things. It can be that there have already been C&P exams, so they feel like they understand what the rating should be, but they don't know if there should be service connection. It can be the BVA sent it back and said, hey, we want these questions answered, and they don't really require an exam. They just require an opinion as to, does this cause this disability? It's hard to say because it can come from any number of reasons. But a lot of times, if you haven't had a real exam, you have to have had a real exam, I think, before they would ask for an opinion. Don't you?
Yeah. Hard to tell on these kind of things, until you see the decision. Well, folks, thanks for joining us in. Thanks for being here for Carol's Corner. It's very exciting. We are so excited to be here with you guys. And again, love seeing all the research and the proactive work you're doing.
All the 100%.
All the 100% people have gotten. This is great. Please continue the work. Please continue pushing us on what you're doing and what you're seeing. And of course, we will be, giving you thoughts on what we're seeing with our casework and what we see is working and not working. So thanks again, and we look forward to seeing you back on the space soon.